What up? What up? What up? What up? What's going on? What's going on? Um, Welcome to the MEC live session. Let's see, we got our guest coming in right now. Let's bring him on.
Mic check, 1, 2. What's up? What's up?
What's going on, bro? How you doing?
Man, I can't complain. It could be way worse.
Yeah, it definitely can be. It can be. So we're live now, but we typically wait a couple minutes to get people in here. So I
For
see
sure.
I see we got Michael in here. Eighth Life, what up? Me Slim, I think that's how you pronounce it. Boof on the beat as always. Humberto Guzman, what's going on? DP, is you with me? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today is going to be another dope session. This is one that I personally am looking forward to. Derek, I've seen the name a lot, but I'm looking forward to diving into your story and learning about what you have going on currently. Let's see who else we got in here. Shane, what's going on? Jay Rangi, I think that's how you pronounce it. Not sure, maybe Rangai. I'm bad with these names. Mac Dick. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce that.
All right, let's get it. Let's get it then.
Yo, before we get started, I got a couple of announcements. Let's see. The first one is I still don't know what I'm doing, but we started a Discord. And I'm about to post a link in the chat. Please join our Discord. I will figure out how it's going to add value eventually, but just join it. Trust me, it's going to add some value. Mac Dick says that's his real name, though. Okay, I'm not hating. I'm just saying that's a lot easier to pronounce than the other names that I was trying to read. Cool. Ben Lupin, what's
Mac
going
got
on?
blessed with the ultimate troll name.
All right, so I have the Discord also. What I started last week. Actually, it wasn't just last week, but we have an artist management roundtable discussion. Derek, I don't know if you have a manager. We'll jump into that, but I've been a manager and I've realized there's not that many resources for up and coming managers. So we started to have a weekly roundtable discussion just to network and share best practices. Which is free as well. And I'm going to post the link to that in the chat. So if you're a manager or want to be a manager, or even if you're just an artist or a producer, I think you guys need to be in these discussions so we can better understand each other, where we're coming from, and value each other's positions. I think that's super important. So sign up. We're going to be live today at 1:30 Pacific. So I'm going to be talking with Derek for about an hour. Then I take a 30-minute break. And then I jump back on Zoom and we have a roundtable discussion with managers and hopefully, try to give you guys some resources to better serve your artists and do your job. So lock in with us, the Discord and the artist management roundtable discussion. So, all right. So we got a decent amount of people in here. Derek, thank you for joining us, man. I really appreciate it. Where do you live?
Nashville.
Okay. Based on that, that's where you're from?
Yeah, well, I'm from Michigan originally, but I grew up here, so yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, dope. Well, before we jump into the current stuff, you want to give people a little bit of background about yourself, just kind of the history of how you got started in music?
Yeah, so I've been doing this for a minute. So the way I first started in music, I actually went to music business school. I went to Middle Tennessee State University. So
Okay.
that's where I got my music business degree. But while I was in school, I got signed to a little small independent record label called Scion. And that's where everything kind of started for me. I put out a mixtape, it did really, really well. And then from there, it went from like, I'm kind of old school. So I was selling CDs out the trunk,
Mm,
like just building finances there. And then I met my business partner, Doc Watson, and
okay.
me and him been rocking ever since. And I mean, the short story, I did that. I got signed to a record label called Reach Records. I don't know if you know who that is, but
Yeah,
Lecrae,
Lecrae.
yeah, my partner Lecrae. So I was signed there. I did 2 albums there, and then after the 2 albums that I did, uh, man, I just decided to move out on my own, and been building a Reflection Music Group RMG ever since. So,
What was the year that you signed to Reach? What year was that?
ooh, it was like 2011 up
Okay.
until probably 2014 or 13. So
Okay.
yeah, those two albums. Yep.
And would you, so you're in the CHH space, the Christian hip hop space, or because I know I got some homies in the space. Sometimes they want the label, sometimes they don't want the label. So I want to,
I'm honestly indifferent, bro. Like for
okay.
me, I'm just like judge me based off the music.
Right,
I feel like labels are for other people.
right, right,
They're
right,
not for me. So I just make the music, and then wherever it fit, that's where it fit. So I'm indifferent either way. You
right.
call me what you want. So yeah,
Yeah, I think a lot of artists have that perspective, but that space is unique and it's passionate.
hmm
And I always tell artists, if you want to kind of accelerate your growth, what communities that already exist can you authentically tap into?
facts,
Right? So,
facts.
like for us, I used to run a label called Funk Volume, and unbeknownst to me, there was a group of folks called the Juggalos. I had no idea,
Yeah,
existed, but they genuinely rock with the stuff. And because they already had like chat rooms that existed, networks that existed, when it did well in that community, it spread like wildfire, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
I feel like the Christian hip hop space is similar, not in style and aesthetics and stuff, but just in terms of like that networking community already exists.
yeah.
So,
Well, it's what they say. The riches are in the niches.
mhm,
Like that's just what it is. So, and that's the reason why I don't fight for I don't fight. Like if somebody says you're CHH, like most of my connections are there. That's where I live, but that's not just what I do. But if you asking where my home is, where I live, that's where I live. But I also do sync and different things. But if you say where's the crib at, it's there.
right,
And what I found is I found embracing the niche to be important
mm,
because now I've created opportunities for other people to be able to build a home and then spark out of that into other things. But
right,
it's almost like, especially in this internet generation, like back in the day, which I think this is true, like you have to get your city popping first. What they're saying is you have to have an ecosystem of people that are rocking with you. That's going to buy every T-shirt. That's going to buy every concert ticket. You got to start there before you expand. You see what I'm
right,
saying? But a
right,
lot of people want to do the opposite. They want to go out and then no one knows them in their hometown. They have no real community that they're linked into and all those
right,
different things. So I definitely, for me, I cut my teeth, live there, but then at some point, that's the issue with niches as well. At some point, everyone wants to spread their wings and fly. And
right,
then as you begin to spread your wings, what you have to do is make sure that you bring your people with you, as opposed
yeah,
to what some people do, which is say, "Well, I'm outgrown that," or "I don't care about that." It's like, nah, I'm just me. Whoever rocking with me, come along, and whoever not is cool too.
right. So
Yeah.
you don't, so just so people aren't confused, do you believe that you have to, so when you say get it popping at home first, that's not physically like your city, that can be like like a home that you create
Yeah.
online, or do you think that you have to like physically get it like locally, you have to get some traction before you can branch out?
So I what's crazy is, as far as my career is concerned, I got popping on the internet.
Right.
I just now recently started getting like traction in Nashville. But for
Hmm.
me, it was a time when I could sell more tickets in Orlando, Florida, or in Dallas, Texas than I could in Nashville.
Right.
But I started seeing that that's although you can do that, I don't think that that's best. I think it's good to have where you live to be popping. But if you get if something grabs a hold to you in a community online grabs a hold to you, I'm not saying ignore that. I'm saying go where you can go. But I think it's super important to have your city with you, man. Like you just because the first thing people ask you in any type of, if you're talking about labels or anything, the first thing they're gonna ask you is, well, how many tickets can you do in your city? That's the first question people want to know.
Right.
So I think it's good to be able to provide an answer for that. That's beneficial. So
Right. For
mhm.
us, it worked that way too. It worked outside in. So we definitely had
Mhm.
way more fans like outside of the city. I mean, it eventually got to a point where we were selling out shows in LA too.
Mhm.
but it wasn't a conventional LA sound, so I understood why it didn't like start here. Dope. Okay, so what when you signed to Reach, like what were you thinking? Like what do you think could be the benefits? What could you contribute? Like why ultimately did you do the deal?
Well, I remember sitting back with one of my closest friends, Tony Tillman, who was also an artist on the label. You know, I was kind of torn because I kind of had the I don't need nobody. I'm gonna do it myself perspective. I kind of had that edge. And my partner said, he said, bro, what you could do in 5 years, they could do in two.
Mm,
I said, dang. And I thought about it once the pride kind of came down, then I thought about it, I was like, damn, you kind of right. Like that makes a lot of sense. So what I did, and I was blessed. I'm thankful for Reach Forever for this. Is they put me in a 2 album deal, which is anybody that knows anything about record deals. That's a gift if you know what to do with it,
right.
because it's a catch-22. It's also a gift and a curse because signing such a short deal, I also didn't get the investment as someone who may have signed for 4 or 5 albums. But at the same time, once my 2 albums was up and it didn't really make sense for either one of us, I could go free, and I only sacrificed 2 albums to get the platform that I've got. So I just, once that was over, we took that and tried to capture that momentum and keep moving forward with it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing I tell artists. You got to always look at kind of both sides of the equation when you're doing a deal. Kind of, again, going back to what we were doing, we signed a label services deal with Warner and we were only giving up 17% of our sales. And then on one side, you're like, "Oh, that's dope." Like
Right.
they're only getting 17%. But
Yeah.
then if you look at it from their perspective, it's probably like, "Yeah, we're only giving 17%. This is where you are on the priority list
Yes,
of,
sir.
of things." So you have to look at kind of both ways to really understand like how you might navigate and still make this deal successful. So okay, dope. So you get off of that, you get off the label in, you say 2013,
Yeah,
2014.
around 2013, 2014.
Did you immediately start your label or
Well, my
no?
label was, I had already started it prior to signing to the label,
Oh,
prior to
okay.
signing the Reach. So yeah, we had already started it. We probably took on way too much too soon. I had
Mm,
like, when I was at Reach, I had like 3, 4 artists, and we didn't have 3, 4 artists worth of money.
right.
So
Wait, so how did wait, I want to get to that too, but like how did the artist look at that? How did the like you're signed like they're signed to you and then you turn around and sign as an artist to another label? Was there any what was the communication like with them and how did they view that?
oh, everybody was on board
Okay.
because what they knew was, like for me, it's RMG. It was tatted on me before I even got to Reach. You see what I'm
Okay.
saying? So they knew that the goal for me was just to go mine the diamonds as much
Right.
as I could. But there was a bit of tension in the sense that the tension was, now I'm split. So it's, do I go do the Reach tour that's gonna have 2,500 people a night, or
Right.
do I go do the RMG tour that might have 150 a night, right? How do I navigate all of that? And then also try to flip the opportunities that I get and try to move them down to my people as
Right.
much as I could. But everybody always, like, I always was upfront, and I always try to be real with my people as to,
Mhm.
what we doing. So but everyone knew, even Reach knew. So it wasn't no like, oh, we're signing Derek, and it's a surprise. Derek is leaving to do his own thing, or like everyone knew. Reach knew, RMG knew. Like, my goal is to be Puffy. My goal is to be Diddy. My goal is to be, you know what I'm saying, Kanye. My goal is not to just be an artist that's just going to be on a label for
Right.
20 years. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So,
Yeah.
so, so you said you had three artists then. Are those artists still working with you, or is it different artists now that were signed prior?
So the only artist that's really still connected as far as the label is concerned is, we got two, Cannon and my partner Tony. So
Okay.
Tony just does, he comes and goes as he pleases. He's kind of moved on to more other things because, the music game, that's a hard game the older you get. So he's kind of
Mhm.
moved on to other things, but we're still his system whenever he feels like he wants to release music. And then Cannon was the first artist that we signed. We just re-up with him, and things are going great. So the other two artists, one just stopped doing music because it's hard, and the other one kind of moved more into sync.
Okay.
So yeah, but all in all, still great relationships. We still brothers. Like all of us are still family. But the business. This is a hard business. Anybody that want to know it, music is
Yeah.
you better know what you're doing.
Yeah, I give props to anybody that came out positive, even a dollar. If
Mhm.
you made a dollar, then you probably ahead of the curve.
Yes, sir.
Um, all right, so let's talk about what you alluded to before. You said you had three artists, but didn't really have three artists type money. Because sometimes I talk to artists, like successful independent artists, and they want to start labels, and I tell yo, start very slow. Like start very slow. Like don't try to bring on three or four artists at once. Like you just get your feet wet. Maybe even start with a single deal, something like
Yeah, for
just
sure.
start slow. So like what was that experience like when you said you have three artists but not really three artists type money? Can you explain more of what that experience was like and what that means?
Well, for a lot of people, I'll just give you a prime example. And that's this is a little sensitive, but in the same sense, it's important. Like I didn't start getting royalties off of my albums that were at the label until probably like 4 or 5 years ago.
Mm.
Like I took every dollar that came in from my post reach albums and put it back into the artist,
Mm.
right? Um, that's what was funding it. And then after that, like I didn't start getting paid a draw from the label as far as our profits until like last year.
Mm.
Like, so this was all investment. It was all snowballing back. So the reason why I said we didn't have 3 or 4 artists worth of money because during that time, my business partner, he's stressed out. I'm stressed out. It sucks to put an album out and then you see it doing good, but it's like, well, I gotta put this right back. Like you never get to reap the benefits
Right.
of that. And that's a hard thing. It's hard to stay motivated, you know what I'm saying, in that sense, to watch your investments grow. And then everyone knows, the first 5 years or first 5 to 7 years of a business, that's when you're in the thick of it.
Right.
Now things have changed a lot. So it's that. And then also as far as our team was stressed out because we had like, okay, we have maybe let's say 3, 4 artists, but then now I got me, my business partner Doc, and then we had one other person. So you have all these ecosystems and every artist wanting your attention, and I'm trying to give them the best we can give them, but it just wasn't enough to go around. And
Right.
then what would happen is because we didn't have enough to go around, you get people that would get into the system and they're passionate, as far as like help, like managers, marketing, et cetera, et cetera. They get in, and it's like it's not enough money to keep them. So we kept going through people trying to keep people attached financially. It got to a point where the people that we were bringing into the label to help, like with marketing and stuff, was getting paid more than us
Mm.
because
Right.
we had to keep them. So I really wish we would have paced ourselves a little more as far as building a label instead of being so aggressive. Not to say that things may have went differently, but we might have been a little less stressed
Right.
as we were doing it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's a learning experience. You don't quite know until you kind of get into it, and there's a lot of enthusiasm. Like, if you're gonna pursue music, I tweeted about this not too long ago. Like it's an emotional roller coaster with heavy drops, heavy climbs. Like it's tough. Like how do you ground yourself in music? Like what do you do? Do you make sure you eat right, you working out? Like how do you ground yourself to kind of prepare for the ride, which is this music industry?
Man, I think the first thing for me is faith,
Mm.
like just knowing, like regardless of if my albums sell or don't sell, like I'm still me. You know,
Mm,
like like my like I'm not tethered to the success of an album or even to the success of the label. Like that's just I am who I am. I'm a valuable person. Like I feel like I was made in God's image. I'm cool there. Outside of that, it's surrounding myself with honest people. Because I feel like a lot of times in music, you know, there's people that you get this weird feeling that you like, I don't know if this that guy, but you look and see their accomplishments, you look and see whatever, and I found this. It was Travis O'Gwen. I was in the studio. I was on tour, and we got to visit Strange, the compound Strange Music.
mm,
And when I went in there, Travis was like, I don't mess with industry dudes. And I was like, wow, that was new to me because I was like a pup in the industry. He was like, man, I've got more done with passionate fans and passionate people and honest people than I have with industry guys. And that set a light bulb off. And I was like, yo, watching somebody like Travis do this, if he says that, so I kind of shifted there to be like, I don't really care about industry dudes. I work with them as much as the business makes sense. But for me, I want passionate RMG people or people that do business that's just straight above the board. I don't want to have to guess because that's where a lot of the stress comes from when you're dealing with businesses that it seems like they can help you get success, but you don't know if they're gonna cheat you or not. So I think
right.
that's a real big thing is just making sure you lock arms with people that's super talented. And then also I think like knowing it's a marathon, like you have to pace yourself.
Mm-hmm.
When I first started, it was like I wanted the success overnight. But what I've found is that success that happens overnight usually can get blown up overnight as well.
Yep.
So give me
Yep.
the wins that's like the wins that we getting out of consistency based on a solid foundation instead of trying to find a way to cheat the system. We just building, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Nah, that's real. I mean, you got to find your tribe in this industry and the people that, as you grow and you have more years in this, you kind of learn, the people that do good business, the people that you trust, and you kind of stick with that tribe. Um, so knowing that you are an artist and label owner, how do you divide your responsibilities? And were artists ever concerned that they weren't getting enough from you because they felt like you were focused on your own career? How did you balance that or manage that communication?
Yeah, I knew off the top that I I'm a bit self-aware in the sense that I know I'm not a day-to-day person.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the number one priority was connected with my business partner Doc, who is a day-to-day person, very consistent. And we kind of partnered in there. So for me, it was all about supplementing my weaknesses off the top.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you don't supplement your weaknesses off top, then it's going to be really, really hard to be successful. And I think that's just something that in any business you have to have.
Right.
So that was the goal for me. So my partner Doc, he really deals more day to day with the artists. Now we have um, multiple people that are handlers in that way because I know I'm only one person. And you're right, I'm in the studio producing, making music, et cetera, et cetera. So I've found that it's just valuable, just being humble enough to say, this isn't my lane. Let me go find somebody that this is their lane and let's give them, let them do their job. You know what I mean?
Right. And then so the artists that would be attracted to your label, you don't have to say what their deal looks like, but is there obviously they're attracted to it probably primarily because you head it up, you're the
Yeah,
face of it. They've seen,
for sure.
you've gotten to a certain place in music. What is promised or told like, are you giving them features to get them on? Like to what extent do they get access to Derek versus the label, like to boost their music?
Yeah. So I tell everybody this that wants to sign with us that I cannot guarantee you a career. I
Mm,
can't guarantee you a career, and I also cannot guarantee you're gonna get to where I'm at, or even close. There's no way I can do that. That would be a lie. But what I can guarantee you is that we will finance what you're doing and we'll give it our best, and that I will be there with you every step of the way. So I'm involved creatively in artist projects as much as they want me to be. Um, Obviously being a producer and also an artist. So I produce records. Like we just dropped a record with a pop artist we just signed named Danielle Apicella, and it's been doing well. I've produced her pretty much everything she's done so far.
Mm.
And because she feels comfortable with me. But then another one of our artists, Byron Jawan, who he's doing really well. He does R&B. I started producing a little bit, but then after a while, he found a tribe, and then now I'm just there for moral support. You know, he sent me the album. I tell him what I think. You know, help him pick singles, et cetera, et cetera. But we fund what he does, and let let the artists have the vision that they want to have. So that's all I can promise you. I can't promise anything other than
Right.
that.
So, and one of the advantages that I felt, I'm not sure if you're familiar with my story, but I used to run a
Oh
label.
yeah, yeah, I know all about
Okay.
you.
So one of the advantages that I always tell independent artists or independent labels that we have over majors, because they typically have more money than us, is like we have a brand that matters to the fans, right? Like anytime that we signed an artist, like I couldn't promise them the most money, but I could promise one, getting them on the road pretty fast. And I could promise that we're gonna put you in front of fans immediately. Labels can't really do that. Labels can, I mean, they can get you in front of people that don't know who you are, but like we already have fans that trust us, that trust like that we're gonna groom talent or put talent in front of them, and typically people gravitate towards them.
Right.
Like, do you see that as well? Do you see that as an advantage for Reflection Music Group? Like, is your brand an advantage and something that, you know, aspiring artists would see as value joining the team?
Without question. That's the difference between a label and a movement. You know, Funk Volume, as much as as much as it was a label, it was a movement. Like I was hip to everybody. I'm like, yo, everything they doing is gold. It's crazy. And for the people that love that sound, they knew you sign a Funk Volume, that's what you get. Well, it's the same thing with us. Is, you know, you sign with us, you know you're gonna get we attract a certain type of artist that wants to be connected with us, and you're gonna get this kind of art. So but now, you know, we've expanded into like R&B and pop and different things like that. But even the people that our fans that are used to rap, they're still gravitating to those artists because they love the fact that it's experimental, that it's honest music. It's not, and that's the thing. Like we talked earlier about like the CHH. Like there's a lot of people that don't want to be pigeonholed into that. We're kind of the renegades. It's like, yo, we're people of faith, but at the same time, we just make the music we like making.
Right.
And so for people that want that want the experimental, the honest music, they come to us. So then now it's not even genre specific. It's just, if you just want some real music, you come over here and get that from us.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then how about like the artist interaction amongst the label when you had multiple artists at one time? Like how did they get along? Was that something that was encouraged in terms of collaboration, or at least kind of getting familiar with one another, or did everybody kind of do their own thing?
So initially when we first started, like we all was friends first.
Okay.
I signed my friends, you know what I mean? So that's just what it is. And we still stay connected to this day. But there comes a point in a label, and I'm sure you experienced this, that it goes from friendship to where it has to be business, where, you know, it expands to where, you know, there's so many different people involved. It's really impossible to try to link people in that way. So, but even our new artists have connected in a way because we've just built a culture of it's like, yeah, this is business. We all want to make money, but yo, we rock with one another. So, you know, if you in the city, you ain't got to get a hotel. You come stay at my crib. It's more of a family atmosphere. But
Right.
then also, I try not to, because that was a thing that when I was at Reach, just being candid, a big struggle was it was family, 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 but nobody talked about business until there was a bad business thing that has to happen. So it's like, hey guys, it's business, so we got to do this. It's like, wait a minute, I thought we were family. So what I learned from that situation was to have a clear line that, hey, this is business, but as
Mhm.
we do business, we can still be honorable and still be family in that sense. But it's still business, though. We're in a business.
Right. No, for sure. That makes a ton of sense. The piece that where I was going with it, where I think is another advantage, to being with an indie label is just having, now that we have multiple artists and then we have the labels, social media channels and things like that, just having so many other different platforms to promote your music,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
if Dizzy comes out with a project, of course, Funk Volume is going to support it, but Hop's going to support it.
Right.
Jaren's going to support it. So we kind of, you don't beat the algorithms, but we can kind of challenge them to a sense, as we can get. That's how we essentially got people on the Double XL cover, because like, other artists were trying to get that 10th spot by themselves, and I'm over here. I got like 20 different platforms to be able to promote and try to get votes and things like that. So that's how we kind of got the messaging out. All right, I know that there's a lot of people in the chat that want to ask questions. So if you're not familiar, if this is your first time joining one of our sessions, no matter where you're tuning in from, whether it's YouTube, Periscope, Twitch, doesn't matter, you can type your questions in the chat. I can see them. We're broadcasting from StreamYard, but I can see your comments. So put your questions in the chat, and then I'll highlight a few, and then we'll ask Derek before. I guess we're actually moving kind of quick. We still got 29 more minutes. But yeah, go ahead and let's see. Okay, so this person says, let's see, who is this? The channel 62. How do you handle label ownership? And if anything is like, hey, I don't want
All
to,
right.
all good. Um, but yeah, I guess that would be a good question to ask. Like, who owns is it you and your business partner 50-50, or is it just you and
Oh
you?
yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. If that's the question, because I was like, that's a pretty broad question. Like, how do you
Right.
handle it? But nah, it's me and my partner. We split everything down the middle.
Okay.
We keep everything like we 1 and 2. So that's, or we 1 and 1, not 1 and 2. So that's kind of how we do it, and that presents challenges for sure. But I think, and I would suggest that you make sure that you know who you're going in business with to have that kind of setup. But at the same time, when it's good, is when you got a good partner, it works good like that.
So the label is 50-50, and then you are signed to the label as an artist. So it's not,
Okay.
so I just don't want, because again, this is how people got confused with the Funk Volume situation. It's like, oh, Dame makes as much as Hobson. Like, no, that's not the case. Like
Right.
the label is 50-50, but then the artist is signed. Like, so I'm not, so Derek, so you're signed, you have a particular
Yeah.
deal structure.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
So yeah, so there's the ownership of the label, right? So we're doing that, and then at the same time, um, you know, I'm signed as an artist. So I which is dope. You get to make your own record deal, right? So I created a record deal that I felt would be fair, and that's how we move it.
Dope. Okay, so hopefully
So I
people.
tell I tell all the artists that sign, I'm like, you use the same marketing people I use. Like it's no, like we're all, I'm signed to my label, right? So yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Dope. All right, let's see. Let's hold on. It's moving kind of fast. Hold on. Let's see. What's the best piece of advice Derek received from someone? Was it the Travis? Did you already talk? Was it that, or is it,
Yeah,
maybe give
I
us
think
something else?
I think that was good advice. I think the I don't know if anyone really gave this to me, but I learned it over time. I would really want to reiterate to pace yourself.
Mm.
Like, pace yourself. This is not, especially if we're talking about on the business end, but even on the artist end, I tell people this all the time. It's not about getting the hit, because no one can capture that. Like, I don't know, like, you got timing that's involved in that. You got systems that's involved with that. So we can't guarantee a hit. But if you pace yourself and you're consistent as an artist or as a businessman, and it's about getting a little bit more every day and getting a little bit better every day, you'll last in this game. Every person I saw that tried to come out the gate and they're gonna capture the world out the gate, they're not here anymore. They're
Right.
gone. And that's what I would say is like pace yourself. Like take time and just every day a little bit more improvement.
Right. So kind of related to that, another question on how you kind of communicated with your artists. Like one of the most difficult things to me is just managing expectations, right? And just kind of understanding that my expectations may not be the same as the artist's expectations, because what I think is growth and may not be the same definition of what they think is growth, right? So did you have those conversations to get on the same page? Like this is realistically what we can expect within the first year, 2 years, whatever.
All the time. So, and that's something that I learned from mistakes. Like, so with our first crop of artists, there was no expectations. It was just, hey, we're gonna just make music and hopefully everybody become as big as Drake. Now when I sign an artist, I'm always trying to set their expectations. And really, there's a certain type of artist that signs to us.
Mm,
Um, we don't sign. I can't sign an artist that wants to be Drake overnight,
mm,
like because I can't give that to you. I don't even have the funds to do that. We know that Drake, those are multi-million-dollar marketing budgets that we
right.
just don't have access to. So if that's what you're looking for, I literally cannot give that to you. So we're looking for artists that are like they want to grind it out, they want ownership. So and that's another benefit of signing to an indie is we have an array of different deals. Like so, I try to fit my deal to what's valuable to the artist. So if ownership is really valuable, I just let people know. It's leveraged. So the more ownership you have, probably the less attention you'll get, and
Mm,
then we just build it in that way. If upfront money is big to you, then you just got to know that's gonna change a different lever.
right.
So that's kind of how we move. Yeah.
No, that I think that's great. Another thing you said earlier, I didn't know you had went to school, but now in
Mhm.
talking to you, I can tell it's fun. And I don't. Again, people probably know this by now. Like I've gone to school. I have an MBA, but through my interactions with artists, like I can typically tell, like just from talking to them, like if they've had not even school, just a more structured experience.
Mhm.
Like, do you feel like that was valuable to your success, or how did going to school kind of help prepare you for the music industry, if at all? If it didn't, then say, hey, I didn't need to go to
That's
school. Like,
that's a good question. I think that is dependent on the person.
mm,
I didn't have no connections. I didn't know anything about the music business. It helped me. It helped me in a sense learn how to think about the music business,
mm,
as opposed to like all the stuff I learned doesn't even matter anymore. Like digital music came in and changed everything. The way you break a record is totally different than it was when I went to college. But I did learn how to think critically about music. But I will say this: had I maybe moved to Atlanta or LA and got with the right group of people, I may have learned that. I may have learned that faster or learned it in a different way. So I think that's. I think it's just for the person. It really depends on the person.
right. Okay. Dope. Another question. Has this ever happened to you? Have you had to handle dealing with rolling out more than one artist? Like, was more than one artist putting out a project at the same time?
Oh yeah. Now that happens a lot because the frequency of how records are dropping.
Mm,
So it's really hard to. Everybody wants to be on this rotation of content, 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 content. So we're constantly dropping stuff all the time. I mean, so we have the label, and then we also have a distribution arm called Amplify. So we also have artists that we distribute as well. So we're constantly dropping artists, and everybody has their own ecosystem. And the way you deal with it is you have to set the realistic expectations, and then also again you have to pace yourself. So at first, whenever an artist be like, "Man, I want to drop this Friday," we'll be like, "All right, bet." Well, then now you got all these artists, and you trying to say yes to everybody and have everybody's release date. Same now, it's like, okay, we can't do it this week because we have a packed schedule. So again, the pacing yourself, letting artists know that it's not beneficial for me to try to fart your album out this week and we got 12 other releases. Maybe it's better for us to drop this when you have our total attention.
Right.
And that's going to get you more. It may push you back maybe a week or two, but you're going to get more out of it, you know.
Right. 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 This is another question. What's it like having your own? I mean, we've been talking about it, so you know, a lot of this question has been answered, but maybe you can answer it more directly. Like, is it just what's the reality of what it's like to have your own record label?
Um, it's work. That's all I can say, bro. Like,
Is it as cool as as you imagined it yet? Like, is it?
no, no, it's not, bro. Like, I had to, you know what? I had to set my own. I had to reset my own expectations. You know what I mean? Like, this is work, but it's rewarding work. Like, man, it's nothing like dropping. Like, we dropped our artist Danielle Apicella, so we just dropped her second single, and she got on New Release Friday on Spotify. It's her second single with us. You know what I mean? Like, that's rewarding. Watching a record that we dreamed about start to get a little bit of attention, and watching her kind of shine. Watching my man Byron. Byron was, I mean, he's getting, getting placements all over the place. Like, watching artists go from having dreams and watching those dreams turn to reality, like that's an emotion that you have to experience it to understand it. Like, I'm sure you felt the same way watching Hobson and Dizzy and all them cats, like just watching them thrive, going from one point to a different point. Like, that's my favorite part about being a business owner, label owner, for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's the biggest achievement, right? Like being able to work with young people where creativity is their passion and able to turn that into their career, you know, and eventually supporting their families through doing what they love to do. I mean, that was the top for me. That was, you know, super rewarding. So I'm with you. Let's see, we got some more. How do you find new artists?
That's a good question. I am looking for artists with momentum. That's what I'm looking for. So it's crazy because I get a lot of people that'll DM me like, "Yo, check this song out." Like, if you got to DM me to check your song out, then I'm probably not looking, because what I'm looking for is momentum. Like, I'm not trying to take something and build it from scratch. I'm trying to hop on a wave that's moving and throw gas on the fire. So that's what I'm looking for. Like, that's how I'm looking for artists that's moving. And then, I mean, you don't got to be doing, a million streams, but you gotta have something. There gotta be some kind of kindling there, some heat there that we can throw gas on. If it ain't no heat, ain't nothing I could do. So yeah.
I tell artists all the time, like I can count on one hand the times that I was given music that I thought was super dope, like directly from the artists themselves. Like the music that came across our desk that was dope always came from a fan of that artist.
Facts.
Like, you know, so that let me know that that person is putting in the work and it is getting out there. Because literally, you know, I could count on one hand the number of times that, you know, the music came directly from the artist.
And then also that people think an artist, a successful artist, is only about making good music. Like, bro, that's step one. Like, we've had artists that I thought were really, really good, distributed, and artists that's been on a label, but they just did not have the desire to go suffer on the road for 30 days for pizza and hotels or sleep in a van. Like, that's a lot of work to do that. Like, to go and promote themselves over and over and over again and get no after no after no after no until they get that yes. Like, that's what makes the artist successful. It's not the music. It's a lot of niggas making great music, Like, it's like, what are you doing to get that music out? And then my job as a label is to come alongside you and say, okay, well, he did all that with this little bit. Man, if we get this dude a little bit more, that's what any business does. It's like I need proof of concept first before I can even think about putting any money into your project. If you don't have no fans, no momentum, you don't have proof of concept. That's it.
That is 100% real because I know a lot of artists that are super talented, make great music, and just won't do the things that are necessary to really create that momentum. They kind of just want to do what they want to do, and that's fine. But it's going to be tough to build momentum that way.
Facts.
All right, dope. Let's see. Would you here? Let me put this one up. Would you recommend an upcoming producer or artist move to LA or Atlanta, or do you think you should establish yourself in your area first?
Ooh, that's a good one. Um, Depends on your goals. Um, I had a friend tell me if you want to do business, you got to go where business is being done. So, but I also, if the goal is to get on the next Travis Scott album, you got to go where Travis Scott people is at, where people is making music. So, if you want to get on the next Lil Baby record, you might want to move to Atlanta. If you like, man, I love the Atlanta sound. I think I got something that work. It might be a good idea to move out there. But I also I know people that's killing it just in their city, like
Mhm.
with the local artists that's in the city, and you know, man, it's an artist in Nashville called Jelly Roll. His producer's doing great. Jelly is out here going stupid. So I think what's more important than the scene is finding an artist that you believe in that's going somewhere. I think we missed that because of and there's pros and cons to the internet producer thing where it's just like, hey, just I'm getting beats to everybody I can get them to. But man, I think you find a lot of success too. I mean, don't overlook the idea of, man, it's an artist in my city I really believe in. I feel like they got the lyrics, I got the music. Let's lock in and see where it takes us. I don't think that many producers are thinking that way now. But I think it's good.
Yeah, there's a shitload that you can get done right where you're at. And if you are gonna move, just know that that's not a unique story. There's a thousands and thousands of people that are. I live in LA, so there's thousands and thousands of people. You got to be a different beast to move out here and move in a way that's gonna be to your advantage because there's a lot of competition out here. So are you the kind of person that can come out here and thrive? Are you gonna do you know how to network effectively?
Facts.
Or are you shy, or are you more of an introvert? Because that's not gonna get it done out here. You might as well stay where you at.
Right. You
uh,
you you you'll save a lot of money.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not cheap to move and live out here. So, and I would try to establish as many relationships as possible before you come out here, right? Like,
Mhm.
try to connect with some people so you can really hit the ground running, as opposed to move out here and it's like, okay, now what do I do? So yeah, but I think there's a lot, you like Derek said, there's a lot that you can do right from your hometown with the talent that you have close, that you can lock in the studio with in person and make some great music. All right, cool. Oh, this is a good question I should have asked. Does your label manage the artist as well, or is it strictly a label?
Ooh, that's that's complicated in the sense that for the longest time we were fulfilling label services or management services without getting paid management cuts because we were the label. So it was like but now we try to be clear. So some of the artists that it's not the label managing them, but some of the artists that don't have managers that need those services, we provide them for a management cut. But I think at some level, every indie label is somewhat of a management company. That's just what it is.
Mhm.
Uh, I honestly think indie labels are pretty much management companies. That's just what it is. It just needs to be clearly defined and everybody knows what you're dealing with. So we don't manage every artist that's on our roster, but some artists we do manage.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. It kind of, it's a smaller company. We wear multiple hats, and because we move so fast and are so like nimble, like it works better that way. To be honest, like I don't need the less amount of people that are in the equation, the better to me, because we can kind of pivot and move very quickly. Um, let's see, Chad Horton's in all. He said there's more people moving out of LA than to LA because they can't make it financially. I'd move to Atlanta and buy a house. Hey, you got to budget appropriately when you move into a city like LA or New York. Um, it's and whatever you think your budget should be, you should probably double it.
Buddy.
Let's see. We got a few more. Then I want to be respectful of your time. Let's see. Are labels necessary for a mainstream artist? Can an independent artist make it in the mainstream, or is it too tough to even keep it solo?
You know what? This question is a little bit loaded because it just depends on what making it is to you.
Right.
Right? Making it to me could be totally different.
Well, he said make it in the mainstream, right? And really, the only independent artist that we have seen make it into the mainstream is Chance.
For sure.
Right.
For sure. Well, I would say my homeboy Toby Nwigwe.
He's coming. He's coming.
He's on the cusp. He's like, he almost there, but
right.
It just really depends. Like, I mean, it's like hitting the lottery, bro. Like, I'm gonna keep it honest, because that mainstream success is like, that's a different level of success, because it's a different level of an investment.
Right.
So, and even if you have the money, I mean, how many artists do we know that's like, I mean, I know you probably ran into this. They're independent, they got a lot of money, and they think they just going to break into the mainstream industry, and they just wind up losing a lot of money and then going back home. So,
yeah,
I think what you gain, I think the main thing is if you want to have that kind of platform, you kind of need those relationships. So that can happen via a management team, it can happen via agent, like a booking agency, but you got to have something there that's going to put you on them platforms.
Yeah, that was kind of eye-opening for me, because I came into music from the corporate world. So I jumped in and had to learn a lot, just kind of how it worked. And, in the beginning, I just thought, okay, if we have certain numbers, I mean, we got the numbers, so they should let us in. We got the numbers. And that works to a certain point, right? Like the numbers work to a certain point, but that mainstream success, there are gatekeepers, and it's a different game after that, right? So you can have the numbers, it gets you on the road, we're selling merch, we're doing well, and then it's like there are gatekeepers to the TV, there's gatekeepers to radio, things like that. It's going to take building these relationships, and I'm not saying that you can't build these independently, but it's probably going to take a lot longer.
Well, let's think about it logically, right? I'm Universal Music, Records, whatever, and I have the opportunity to put a song in our next movie. Am I going to give it to this guy that I have zero investment in, or this guy that I own everything that he does? I'm giving it to this guy because I'm making money every which way now. Now, you know what I'm saying? Even the money that I give out, I'm still getting a percentage back in some other way. So I think we got to think about that. We got to think logically. Like, I think, and I had this idea. It's like, yeah, if I hit a certain amount of numbers, then all the doors are going to open up. And it's like, no, those doors are opening up for certain people, because there's people that are at the top of the business model that are making money all different ways. So that's why they put them in all different positions, so they can exploit that situation. So he said his follow-up was, I was thinking about living with the income. And I think that's where people make the mistake. You don't have to be a mainstream artist to make an income with music. I mean, there's millionaire artists that don't have mainstream success. It's just comes down to just having a good business model and having a product that people want. If you got a good business model and a product that people want, You don't have to have mainstream success to be extremely wealthy
Right.
as an independent artist. So
Right.
yeah.
No, you don't. You know, because even us, we were doing very well financially. It's just that artists have to be honest with themselves. Because some artists will be like, "Oh, you know, I'm doing what I love. I have my fan base, and I'm making really good money. Sometimes a lot more money than some of these mainstream artists." But then they say they don't want the fame, but they want the fame. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so they're not being honest with themselves. And I think that's just a conversation. Well, hopefully you guys get to a point where you have to have this conversation with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
where you kind of have to choose and figure out, like, okay, what really is important to me. And I don't think you're a shallow person if you say you want fame. If that is what it is, you just got to be honest with yourself, and position yourself, because you might need to give up a little bit on one end in order to try to open up some of these doors. And I think the great thing about today too is, like, there's starting to be many more like platforms. You have Netflix, Hulu, you have all this stuff that needs music. There's just so many more gates being created.
Yeah.
Right. Some of them have gatekeepers, and some of them might be accessible once you get to a certain point, a certain amount of fans. Right. So I would just encourage artists to hang in there. If you want to be independent, it's just going to be a slower grind at a certain, or it might speed up at times, and then it might slow down a little bit, and then it might speed up and it might slow down. That's just how it is.
Bro just asked another question. This
Here we go.
it's a doozy.
Which one is it? I gotta.
The same guy. He says, doesn't fame and decent income go hand in hand? And the answer is no.
Wow.
The answer is no. Absolutely not. Like,
Right.
you can be extremely famous and broke.
Right.
You know what I mean? And nobody could really know you outside of your region. You can make a whole lot of money. So don't think the fame and income go hand in hand. They don't, not all the time.
They should, but often it doesn't happen. And I think it's for a couple of reasons, right? Like the contract you sign, may not be financially advantageous to you in the long run. And then, because I also think that a lot of like the mainstream artists would make a shitload more money if they employed independent artist tactics.
Ooh.
Right? So
Ooh.
they could, but I don't think that's where the major label focus is, and I don't think that's where their team focus is,
Mm-hmm.
right? In terms of like extracting their audience data, being a little bit more scientific with it, maybe starting like a membership,
Mm-hmm.
platform, stuff like that. The stuff that independent artists have, learned to figure out. So it should go hand in hand. Like once you're famous, unless something in your contract tells you that you can't do certain things, like you should be able to monetize that in a pretty healthy way. But it just doesn't happen all the time. Um, Dope, man. Hey, Derek, I've enjoyed this conversation for real, man. It was really, really nice getting to know you a little bit. If there's ever anything that I can help you with, or we can help you with, even if it's just posting your music on our page, whatever it is, man,
Man.
feel free to hit me. You got my number now. I shot it to you in an email. Is there any last words that you like to leave our aspiring music entrepreneurs with?
Man, hey, hang in there. I think that's the thing. If I have anything to say, like, hang in there. Like, this shit hard. Like, it's hard, bro. Like, so if you frustrated, welcome to the club. Like, you have your frustrations are in a bucket of frustrations with almost everybody in the industry, and that's at every level. I'm sure that people like Drake get frustrated because of certain things not working the way they want it to work. So I would say, man, just y'all hang in there and enjoy yourself. If I have anything, and I've been telling my artists this, if I have any regret that I have, it's that I didn't enjoy the ride as much as I should have, because
Mm.
I was so focused on the next thing that I didn't look at the blessings that was in my lap already. So, man, y'all enjoy the ride and hang in there. And then also go stream my new single Clean. It's going crazy. We on Hip Hop Controller, we on Most Necessary. So go stream that mug
Yeah.
and do that for sure.
Dope.
But yeah, that's it.
What's your Twitter? What I'm about to type it in the chat. It's
The Derek Minor.
the Derek Minor. Make sure you follow him on Twitter. Seems to be pretty active there. And then I wanted just to it's not posting. Hold up. Here we go. Oh, there it goes. I posted the link to his Twitter in the chat. Here's the link again to our Discord. Please join our Discord. We'll get it popping eventually once I figure out how to best use it. And then in 30 minutes, we're going live with our artist management roundtable for aspiring artist managers, or even if you're just an artist that manages yourself or a producer that manages yourself. We're going to be live in 30 minutes. Let me put the link to that before I close it down. Let me see. Artist spelled that right. Boom. Cool. All right, Derek. I appreciate what's the next song come after Clean? What's next?
Man, we about to drop. I got so much stuff coming out, man. I got multiple projects coming out this year, so just stay tuned. You know, if you follow me on the platforms, you're gonna know what's up. We got a lot of good stuff coming. So.
Okay, dope. Well, I look forward to checking it out, bro.
Bet. Well, I'm gonna see you in LA, bro. As soon as I get out to LA,
hit me. Let's link for sure. Okay. All right, y'all.
All right,
Peace.
Bro. Peace.